Good afternoon and good morning to our West Coast listeners. Welcome to the launching of the American Bar Association Civil Rights and Social Justice Section's Chair Chat. My name is Juan Thomas, and I have the honor of serving as the 2022-23 chair of the ABA Civil Rights and Social Justice Section. We are using this Chair Chat as a weekly opportunity to discuss strategies for tackling the existing and emerging civil rights issues around the country, with a focus this year on economic justice. We encourage you to join us each week, every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel to follow us and to follow this ongoing conversation. Today, I am so honored that our first guest is none other than the 146th president of the American Bar Association, none other than Deborah Enix-Ross, who will be talking to us today about her upcoming year as president of the ABA. President Enix-Ross is a tremendous bar leader, having served as president not only of the American Bar Association this year, but a past chair of the ABA House of Delegates, past chair of the ABA Center for Human Rights, and past chair of the ABA section of international law. She is well respected and highly regarded throughout this country as a leader's leader and a lawyer's leader throughout our profession. We are so honored to have you here, Madam President. Thank you for joining us on today.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And first, let me congratulate you on becoming chair of the Section for Civil Rights and Social Justice. I know that it is after a lot of hard work in the area. And so I appreciate you. And thank you very much for that very generous, very kind introduction. I was beginning to wonder, who are you talking about?
Well, it was heartfelt and sincerely meant. And again, we are just so happy that you've taken time out of your schedule to be our first guest on this Chair Chat for the 2022-23 bar year. So let's jump for your bar year is civics, civility, and collaboration. The 3 C's, as I've heard you talk about it throughout the last few years. Can you share with us how you came to develop this theme and what you are asking us as lawyers in the ABA and outside of the ABA to do to help you accomplish the 3 C's during your bar year?
Yes, thank you for that. So as you mentioned, civics, civility, and collaboration will be the focus of the bar year. And really the idea came to me about 4 years ago as I was thinking about running for president and what to do with this amazing platform, because it's such a privilege to be the president of the ABA, and you want to make it meaningful. And I was struck by the number of people who approached me knowing that I'm a lawyer, mostly non-lawyers, and it would happen wherever I was, whether it was at a barbecue or a church event or, you know, at a cocktail party. People were really struggling with legal concepts, and they weren't quite calling it the rule of law, and they weren't calling it civics and civility, but that's really what it was. They were trying to understand the moment where we were more than 4 years ago in our society. And so for me, it began to crystallize that civics, civility, and collaboration really are the cornerstones for protecting and preserving our democracy. And so that is why I wanted to use this year to focus in those 3 areas. And let me say quickly, for civics, it really is the question of having our citizens understand what the 3 branches of government are and what they are meant to do and what they are not meant to do. And the civility, I don't think I need to describe that. We know that we are in a very divided society, and we've got to figure out a way where we can have difficult conversations, but not have them devolve into chaos and some of the violence, frankly, that we've seen. And for me, collaboration means that it's it's not just the lawyers who are responsible for protecting the rule of law. Certainly we are the leaders, but we need to come together to collaborate with other professions. So whether it's journalists and teachers and faith leaders and business leaders, it will take all of us to preserve and protect our democracy.
That's a wonderful point you made about civics. Last year, our immediate past chair, Beth Wittenberry, focused her year on civic education for our section. So we're excited to collaborate with you to have our section be an ongoing partner in raising the importance of civic education. I'm just going to want to follow up with you on that. Besides that particular project, how else can our section specifically be of assistance to you in your administration around the 3 C's in collaboration in the legal profession generally?
Yeah, so I think it's the duty of ABA members in general, really, to demonstrate civility on a daily basis. And when I talk about civility, I'm not thinking that that means you need to be meek or you need to be mild, or that it means that you cannot advocate with passion for the causes that you're interested in. No, that's not what I'm talking about with civility. I'm talking about effective communication and having a way to be able to have those difficult conversations, to advocate in a way that will provide the results that I think all of us would like to see, and to do it in a way, again, that doesn't cause harm and chaos and cause us to be further divided. So I know, as you mentioned, you had a focus last year on civics. I think I understand that you also, I know you have a task force on fair elections and voting rights. And you've got an initiative, Lawyers as Change Makers. These are all great ways that you can help promote civics and civility. And it really is a part of our everyday life. And we just need all of the lawyers within the ABA, in fact, the legal community, to demonstrate that on a daily basis.
We will make sure to continue to do that and look forward to working with you on that within our section and promoting that throughout the profession generally. You also established a task force on law, society, and the judiciary with the immediate past president, our friend, Reginald Turner from Detroit, Michigan. And I know a few of our members of our section are members of that task force, but could you share with us the purpose of that task force and what are your goals and objections for that task force?
Sure. So the task force was approved by the ABA Board of Governors back in June, and to evaluate developments involving the state of the judiciary. And really it came out of a number of decisions, including the Bruin gun control decision and of course Dobbs. Really what we want the task force to do is to identify and recommend next steps that we can take to educate our nation on what courts do and why judicial independence is critical to the protection of our rights and our institutions of government. And as you mentioned, there are a number of members on the task force, and I apologize. I've got this iPad that has just decided it wants to zoom in and out whenever it feels. I promise you, I'm not moving, but it is. So there's.
You have a lovely outfit. You have a lovely outfit on, by the way.
I'm glad I'm fully, it's not just the face. But, well, thank you. But seriously, the task force, we wanted it to be bipartisan. It already has some of the best legal minds in the profession, but it was important for us that it be bipartisan because these are issues that cut across the political spectrum. So it's chaired by our former ABA President Linda Klein, but Other members include Ron Cass, who's a Dean Emeritus of Boston University School of Law, Sherilyn Eiffel. I know you in the section, certainly I know Sherilyn just gave her an award, President and Director Emeritus of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. Wallace Jefferson, who's a former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Texas. Melissa Murray, who's a legal scholar and law professor at NYU. Ted Olson, who probably needs no introduction, but a former Solicitor General of the US. And your own Wendy Sheba, who's a past president of the National Asian Pacific American Bar Association and co-founder of the Collaborative Bar Leadership Academy. And we now have Hossein Nubar, who is general counsel of Microsoft. So what we try to do is bring together people across political spectrums and across the legal profession. So whether they are judges, former judges, lawyers, professors, in-house counsel, because these are issues that affect all of us, and we need to figure out a way forward.
That's a wonderful group of people you've put together, several friends of mine. And like you said, they're some of the best legal minds in the country. So we look forward to their work and whatever ways that we can work with them as a section and work with through your office. We'll make sure to do that. I wanted to ask you about our particular focus this year around economic justice. I believe candidly that a civil rights agenda without a economic justice agenda is like trying to clap with one hand. I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts about economic justice? And do you see a component of economic justice fitting in the context of your 3 C's or your philosophy generally around civil rights issues?
Yeah, so I think it's a great question, and one that doesn't spring to mind immediately when I'm talking about the cornerstones of democracy, but actually it's a perfect tie-in because civics education affects good citizenship, which then affects good government, and that in turn affects the nation's economic prospects. And while we may think of economic justice on an individual level, it's not just about the individual person, it also affects social order, right? And we know that, for example, the US Chamber of Commerce Foundation noted that without good citizenship rooted in civics literacy, the nation's economic prospects and the future for enterprise will wither. So it's all tied together. We need civics literacy so that people can be engaged. And then from that, I do believe will flow the kind of economic justice that we know we need.
We totally agree. In fact, I would just add, when people have civic literacy, the next component to that is financial literacy.
Yes.
Which I think is a foundation for economic justice. And so we'll also be promoting financial literacy as well throughout this year as a component of civic literacy as well. That's
fantastic. And if there's anything I can do to help you with that aspect, I'm happy to do it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You have been a bar leader for several years. As I indicated in your introduction, you have chaired multiple committees and sections throughout the ABA. You're a leader in your community, in the New York, New Jersey area. I'm wondering if you have advice that was passed on to you on your journey to become ABA president that you would share with those of us in the section and within the ABA.
So as you can imagine, when you are climbing the leadership ladder, you receive lots of advice. Some of it you pay attention to, others you say, thank you very much, or in my case, that's nice, thank you very much. But the advice that makes the most sense, and there's threads of it throughout what people have been saying to me, I distill it to be yourself, right? When I was thinking about becoming chair of the international law section, I looked at the chairs before me and thought, that's not me. You know, some of them had very different careers or career trajectories. And I thought, well, then, you know, I don't fit that profile. But there's one thing that I've learned throughout my legal career is that no one can define success for you, and no one can define what your leadership trajectory ought to be. And so for me, it all boils down to be yourself, and the skills and the passion that attracted you to work in a particular area are the same skills and passion that you will need in leadership. Now, having said that, it is important to listen, to have the ability to listen, and to admit when you've made mistakes and to correct them. And fortunately, I haven't made that many, but I certainly have listened to people whom I trust and made adjustments where necessary. So that's what I would say.
That reminds me of what one of my mentors once said to me. He said, be authentic.
Yes.
And rooted in that is being yourself. So I
That's
appreciate
exactly
that answer.
right. And
Right.
sometimes, you know, for various reasons, for me as a Black woman, sometimes it wasn't easy to be yourself and to be authentic, but I can't survive and I can't thrive in any environment where that doesn't allow that for me. So that was a lesson that I learned early on, and I would remove myself from environments where I felt I couldn't be authentic, be myself. And fortunately for me, within the ABA, I have absolutely had that ability and have been encouraged in that way. So I'm very grateful for that.
You mentioned, obviously, you're an African-American woman. Being only the second African-American woman to become president of the ABA, do you see your role in a specific way that may be unique or different as you represent America's lawyers and judges with respect to young Black girls coming up, or women of color generally, young girls of color generally?
Well, I will say I'm grateful that Paulette Brown was first and did such a fabulous job that the pressure is off. You know, in some ways, when I was growing up, you always felt like you represented the race. Right. And if you did something that brought disgrace, it didn't just affect you, it affected the entire community. So in some ways, I'm grateful that Paulette was first and bore the brunt of a lot of that. And I don't know that she would say that, but I watched her from a distance and could see. And so I think I have a bit more freedom because I'm not the first. That being said, I'm only the second. And so there is still impact there. And there are a number of young lawyers and law students and even college students who have said to me, you know, I see you, I want to be a lawyer. You know, seeing you and hearing you speak has encouraged me to do that. So for me, that is one of the great opportunities and privileges of being in this position. And I'm very thankful for it.
Well, I think you and I agree. Paulette Brown was a tremendous president of the ABA. She leaves a tremendous legacy. And I know you will do the same. And you both make us very proud.
Thank you. That's very kind.
So as you begin your year, what would you say is your hope for the ABA beyond your year as president? How do you want to see the ABA grow and develop, or evolve, if you will, for the next generation of lawyers?
So picking up actually on something that Paulette did very well, which was to get the ABA to focus on diversity. And when you talk about her legacy, that is absolutely a legacy amongst the many things that she did. Diversity, I think, in elevating the diversity conversation within the ABA is at the top. I would like to take that and expand it and think about diversity in all of the forms, but including diversity of thought and diversity of perspectives. We have been criticized, I think, unfairly criticized. The ABA has been unfairly criticized as being too liberal. I don't think that's the case. I think that we have always been focused on the issues that are core to the profession and that help advance equity and justice in the United States and frankly around the world. Sometimes people have taken those issues and politicized them and have said those are liberal issues, but they're not liberal issues. They are core issues. And one thing that we need to do, I think, is when we think about diversity, is bringing in diverse opinions. That's why I'm so pleased that the Law and Society Task Force is bipartisan. We need Dems, we need Republicans, we need conservatives, we need liberals, we need moderates, all of us as a legal profession coming together. So I would like to expand our membership in those ways.
That's a wonderful answer. Thank you for sharing that. We totally agree with you on that as well. So as we begin to wrap up, I have a few questions that are a bit more fun at heart, but I just wanted to have people hear a sense of our president as a person, not just as a bar leader. What are you currently reading, or what's the last book you read?
So I'm literally currently reading a book called The Foundling. I actually have it here because I have book club on Sunday and I'm a little bit behind. You can see where the bookmark is.
So you're in a book club, that's good.
I'm in a book club, and not only am I in a book, I'm the discussion leader. So I better get through this book. But it is very good. And it's really about, it's based on some partial biography, but it's about the Nettleton State Village for feeble-minded women of childbearing age. There was actually institutions that existed, in the 1920s, literally to gather up women and keep them in an institution until they were past childbearing age, if they were deemed to be women of either ill repute or feeble-minded or et cetera. So it's fascinating to read this in this day and age with all that's going on. I haven't finished it, but I'll let you know what I think of it, especially as I say, I'm the discussion leader. So yes, I'm in a book club, and that's literally the book that we're reading and we'll talk about on Sunday.
Very interesting discussion and topic given the Dobbs decision, but that's a whole nother Chair Chat conversation. We'll do that another time.
Exactly. And I will say this about my book club, for anybody who's in a book club or thinking about one, we used to have, so we're about 7-8 members, and every month we would come and people would throw in their suggestions and it was chaos. So now what we do is we designate one person and they come with 3 suggestions. And what this does is it's cut down on the chaos, but it also means that the person suggesting it will get at least one book that they really do want to read. So wonderful. Just my little tip for book clubs.
That's great. That's great. So I assume the book club is fun.
Yes.
But what else do you do for fun? And what's one thing that most people don't know about you? Well,
one thing that people don't know about me, I don't think, is that I love to sing. Now, I love to sing pop tunes, Broadway tunes, Motown, gospel.
Can we get a demonstration?
That would be a no, because although I love to sing, I didn't say I was very talented, but do say what I lack in talent, I make up in enthusiasm. So I'm your karaoke queen if you know lyrics, and I love music.
We'll have to do karaoke at one of our bar meetings.
Absolutely.
To see that. That's great. That's great. And last question, if you could wake up tomorrow morning and you could be anything except a lawyer, what would you be and why?
Well, this is a tough one. I'm torn. So I actually have two answers. One would be a singer, having just explained how much I love to sing. But the other would be probably a teacher.
Oh.
I really enjoy, and I was going to even make it more specific, like, early childhood teach. I love kids, and I love the curiosity that they have, and the energy, and how they have the whole world before them. So I think I would be, maybe I'd be a music teacher, because then I'd have the talent, and I'd have the ability to teach.
Well, that's wonderful. My grandmother and grandfather were both teachers. And so I grew up knowing the importance of and the role teachers play in our life and the importance of education. So
absolutely,
most of us are where we are today because of a teacher.
That is so true, that one or a couple of teachers who really took the time to speak to you and encourage you. I know that was the case for me.
Yeah, that's true for me as well. I am so grateful that you joined us today. Thank you so much. Before we sign off, do you have any final points or thoughts or parting words to the members of our section and those who will be listening to this conversation later?
Yes, thank you for that opportunity. When I talked about the 3 C's, they're the cornerstones of our democracy. We actually have a Cornerstones Commission, and it is chaired by Judge Adrian Nelson and Bill Weisenberg. There's actually a Cornerstones Commission website, and you can go there. There are all kinds of materials, including curriculum, civics curriculum, and toolkits for conversations, civility conversations. And it would be wonderful if you all could go to the website and use that information, and then send me an email or upload on the website anything that you've done, so that we can collect all of the wonderful examples of people using the materials and promoting the cornerstones of democracy. So if you could do that, that would be great.
We'll be sure to do that. Thank you again, Madam President. And to our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in today. We appreciate your support. And please make sure to check out other projects of the Civil Rights Social Justice section and join us at ambar.org/CR